welcome back. I want to finish up the theory module by giving you the golden rules for solving algebra equations. So if you are in your notebook, you're going to go to the theory section. And remember, we have already talked about terms. Hopefully you have taken the terms quiz and you are feeling pretty good about those. So let's move to the next blank page and give this page a title. And I'm calling this the golden rules. And this is strictly my term. A college professor is probably not going to use this term for your algebra rules. But these are the three main points of algebra, at least in my thinking, that you need to know to be able to solve equations. And the first one, and I will tell you, these may not make a lot of sense right now, but if you just get them down on paper, you will see how important they are when we start solving equations. So the first golden rule, and I'm going to zoom in here, is that we move terms, and remember, you know the definition of term. That's one of your vocabulary words. You move terms with inverse operations. And remember, the word inverse means opposite. So we're going to start off with this very important rule. You move terms with inverse operations. And so let's move over here to the workspace, and I want to draw a table for you. Okay. And you will get very familiar with this table if you're following me through this whole course. This is called a T-chart. And you use this in lots of areas of study with certain teachers. But in this one, we're going to say that this is the operation. And then its inverse operation. And I'm going to use symbols here instead of words. So if the operation is addition, the inverse operation would be subtraction, the opposite. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and divide this up with some lines just to keep this in order. Okay, if the operation is multiply, the inverse is divide. And we did go over this earlier in the terms video, I think. I gave you quite a list of these, but it won't hurt to go over them again. If the inverse is a fraction, if the operation involves a fraction, the inverse of that is the reciprocal. So the opposite of 5/9 is 9/5. And you will see that a lot in one of the video sets. If the operation is x or any number to the second power, the inverse of that is the square root. And you saw that definitely in the calculator section. And I did think of another one, so I need to extend my line just a little bit and make a space here. If your operation is any number to the third power, your inverse is the cubic root of the power. These last two we really won't be using a lot, but the top three we will. So this is just a handy little chart, and I will tell you There are others that you may encounter as you go through more advanced math, but these are the ones that you see most often. And I know the rule doesn't make sense right now, but it will. So we're going to remember always to move terms with inverse operations. That is golden rule number 1. And I'm going to highlight that in gold. Move terms with inverse operations. Okay, rule number 2. This one is absolutely, positively critical. So let's zoom in here. If you do it to one side, do exactly the same thing to the other side. So let me give you an example. And again, I'm going to use one of these T-charts just to show you quickly what I'm talking about here. So I'm not going to label this one. That will come in time. Well, I guess I should. Let's call this one side and this the other side. And that will mean something here very soon. Just bear with me. So if you add 5, for example, to this side, you add 5 to this side. If we had to multiply by 20 on this side, then we have to multiply by 20 on this side. You must treat both sides equally, because remember, we're working with equations, and that means that both sides get equal treatment. So the second golden rule that will become clear in time. As a teacher, I hate asking you to just trust me. That goes against everything that I know as a teacher. But this is one time that I need you to trust me, and we will get through this. Okay, the third thing, and I'm just going to put that on the next page. The third golden rule. A lot of students ask me when they're solving equations, how do I know when to stop? How do I know when I'm done? And this is how you know. When you have one variable, and remember, variable is letter, and one number, which is a constant, you are finished. So you should not stop on an equation until you have one letter and one number. And I wrote the word constant twice. I'm sorry. I will not be using letter and number because I want you to learn what constant and variable mean. But for right now, I know you haven't had a chance to really nail those down, so I'm using those common terms. So what we are looking for a solution in an algebra problem is something like this. And let me move that over here. I'm just making this up at random. It doesn't mean anything. But you have one variable and you have one constant with the equal sign between, so you have a solution. This is called the solution to an equation, and that is what we are looking for. So let me ask you a question. Let's think through this to come up with our solution. Is this the same as this? Does it matter which side the variable or the constant is on? So let's figure this out. Remember before, wherever I had the X, we were using this little square, this little box. So let's keep doing that. So X, which is the unknown, is 4. So in order to make this true, I would need 4 dots to make that equation balance out. Okay, on this side, let's check it out. So the X will get the variable, the thing that we don't know yet. And in order to make X balance out, I would need to have 4 dots. So these two things are the same. You can write your, let me say this. You can write your answer as variable equals constant or constant equals variable. Those are the same thing. So you'll see that happen sometimes. Sometimes your letter will come first. Sometimes your number will. It does not matter. For a solution, you can write it either way because the equal sign in the middle shows that they're the same. So rule number 3, when you have one variable and one constant, you are finished. Okay, I know those probably make very little sense at this point, but trust me, they will. We're going to start looking at this concept in the next module, the one-step equations. So I'm going to stop this video and I will see you in the next one.